له يا سيد أنا رجعت على لبنان، أتمنى أنك ترجع كمان على لبنان.
قرار صادر من مجلس الجامعة تسمية حزب الله الإرهابي.
Good afternoon on this Sunday, April 4th. I'm Linda Tamim and these are today's top stories. Saudi Arabia's King Salman is greeted with deafening applause as he addresses the Egyptian parliament on the fourth day of his landmark visit. The calls of Prime Minister Tamam Salam for the cabinet session on Tuesday clear the air of doubts following the latest heated session over the state security file. And G7 foreign ministers begin 2 days of talks in Japan's city of Hiroshima. Saudi Arabia's king has addressed the Egyptian parliament on the fourth day of a landmark visit that saw the oil-rich kingdom pledge billions of dollars in investment and aid to Egypt. Lawmakers received the king with deafening applause and a standing ovation as he delivered his 6-minute address. King Salman said Egypt and Saudi Arabia have agreed to build a bridge linking the nations across the Red Sea and to work together to create a pan-Arab defense force, an Egyptian idea first floated last year. The calls of Prime Minister Tamam Salam for the cabinet session on Tuesday have cleared the air of doubts following the latest heated session over the appointments of the members of the General Directorate of State Security. A dispute erupted at Thursday's meeting and was focused on the budget of the agency and differences between its Director Major General George Ar'a and his Deputy Brigadier General Mohammed Al-Tufaili. Reports even suggested that disagreements between the two officials had started to take on a sectarian turn. The Foreign Ministry says reports of Lebanese nationals being deported from Gulf countries are being exaggerated. After following up on the number of Lebanese deportees from Gulf countries over the last 3 months, the Foreign Ministry said it had discovered there were only 74 cases of expulsion, deportation, or non-renewal of residency for different purposes. It added that Foreign Minister Gibran Bassil was continuously contacting concerned authorities in the Gulf countries, asking them to take into consideration the situation of Lebanese individuals and families. He also called on Lebanese nationals to adhere to local laws in the countries where they are residing. Reports had been issued stating that thousands of Lebanese expats will soon be deported from the Gulf region due to the recent strain in diplomatic relations between Lebanon and the Gulf. Lebanese Democratic Party leader Talal Arslan has rejected the notion of setting up a landfill in the Costa Brava coastal area, despite its opening earlier this week. Arslan headed a delegation from the Shuwaifat municipality as he met with Prime Minister Tamam Salam earlier today at his Msaitbe residence. Following the meeting, Arslan expressed his trust in Salam but not in the government and its institutions. He called on the government to find solutions to prevent damage from the landfill to surrounding areas in Shuwaifat. Tourism Minister Michel Faraoun has announced the reopening of the lower basin of the famous Shaita Grotto following its closure in January due to a drowning incident. Faraoun, who inspected the site, said it has accommodated public safety measures at the highest level and that today was a historic day for Lebanon's tourism. The famous location took a heavy blow in January when Egyptian tourist Mina Ashraf drowned into the grotto's river, bringing to light the lack of safety measures at the popular site. Following the incident, the Tourism Ministry had ordered the closure of the lower basin to the public until it became 100% safe for visitors. Clashes around Syria's second city of Aleppo have killed at least 16 pro-government fighters and 19 members of Al-Qaeda's affiliate and allied rebel groups within a 24-hour period. Syrian rebels have seized a strategic town from ISIL near the Turkish border north of Aleppo in another important step on the march towards the armed group's de facto capital, Raqqa. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights confirmed that groups fighting under the banner of the Free Syrian Army captured the town of Rai after fierce battles with the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. After taking over Rai, fighters said they dismantled landmines surrounding civilian houses and farmlands. The rebels said their next move will be an advance on the ISIL-held city of Bab. south of Al-Rai and northeast of Aleppo, Syria's second largest city. And coming up next, at least 100 people are killed as a massive fire sweeps through a temple in India. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Belgian prosecutors say the planners behind the March 22nd bombings in Brussels, which killed 32 people, had initially planned to hit France for a second time, but struck closer to home as investigators made arrests among key suspects. Investigations into the November 13 Paris attacks, which killed 130 people, showed many of the attackers lived in Belgium, including key suspects Salah Abdessalam and Mohamed Abrini, who evaded police for 4 months after November's killings. Abrini was arrested on Friday and admitted to having participated in the Brussels airport bombings. British Prime Minister David Cameron has released details of his income tax affairs for the past 7 years in an attempt to diffuse criticism of his investment in an offshore trust run by his late father. Cameron became the first British leader to document his financial affairs hours after he told a meeting of activists from the Conservative Party, which he leads, that he was so wrong to have been so slow to acknowledge his investment in Blairmore Holdings. His father, Ian, a millionaire stockbroker, organized the Bahamian Investment Fund with help from the Panamanian law firm Mossack Fonseca, which was the subject of a massive document leak last week. And still in Europe, Macedonian police have used tear gas to push back hundreds of migrants from a border fence at a sprawling refugee camp on the Greek side of the frontier. Tear gas was fired on a crowd of more than 500 people who had gathered at the fence at the makeshift camp of Idomeni. A Greek police source said there was tension in the area but declined to comment any further. A Macedonian official said a large group of migrants left Idomeni camp in the morning and stormed towards the fence. The Greek border village of Idomeni has witnessed the results of an influx of an estimated 1 million refugees and migrants to Europe over the last year. From her small house, an 82-year-old woman has witnessed hundreds of refugees begging for food to feed their children or clean water to shower and wash their clothes. She is now doing all she can to help the latest wave of refugees by giving out food and clothes. They call her the refugees' grandmother. Have a look.
Refugees come to this house in Idomeni, Greece, every day. They called her Mama. 82-year-old Panayota has become the refugees' Greek grandmother. Bara and his kids fled the war in Iraq. They braved the sea, crossing to Greece hoping to reach safety.
لما جينا رحبت بنا كل الترحيب وباصت الأطفال وقالت في أي وقت تجيبهم يجون يتحممون لما سمعت أمهم متوفي.
Panayota knows what it's like to lose one's home. She lost hers in the Second World War.
Ήμουνα 7 χρονών όταν μας κάψανε το σπίτι και δεν είχαμε ούτε κουτάλι, ούτε πυρούνι, ούτε ψωμί, ούτε ρούχα. Ήμασταν με το ποκαμισάκι, τις νυχτικές που φορούσαμε, 5 παιδιά. Ούτε ρούχα, ούτε τίποτα.
At first, Panayota gave out food and clothes to refugees who were passing by.
Πότε τυροπιτάκι έκανα, πότε αυγόφετες έκανα, πότε τόστ έκανα. 5, 10, 15 περνούσαν, τους έδινα.
Then she opened her home. She now hosts 5 refugees in her house. Panayota cooks for her guests every day. They share a meal.
Thank you.
Bravo! Bravo!
Her pension of 450 euros and her children's support pays for food and basic things for the refugees.
Φτάνει αυτός ο πόλεμος. Ο κόσμος δεν φταίει σε τίποτα.
The refugees living with her are from Iraq and Syria. They camped in the cold for a month before finding shelter here. Some refugees like Bara and his kids are there for the day, for a meal or shower.
يعني الحين مرتاح جدا بسبب هذا العجوز اللي موجود هون. نشكرها جدا، نشكرها، وتمثل اليونان.
ζωή μου άλλαξε ότι έχω παρέα μέσα στο σπίτι. Αυτό, τίποτε άλλο. Ότι έχω παρέα μέσα στο σπίτι, ότι μιλάω, ότι γελάμε, αν και δεν καταλαβαίνουμε τίποτα ο ένας τον άλλον τι λέει.
Bye bye, Mama. Thank you.
Sanayota says the refugees are family now. She will keep helping them as long as she can. But that is only a temporary arrangement. Thousands of other refugees are in desperate need of a long-term solution.
100 people were killed and 200 were injured as a massive fire swept through a temple during a fireworks display. The fire broke out this morning when a spark from the show ignited a separate pile of fireworks stored at the Putingal temple complex in the coastal town of Paravur. Thousands of people were packed into the temple when the explosion was heard. The blaze then spread quickly through the building, trapping people inside. And further east, G7 foreign ministers have begun 2 days of talks in Hiroshima with John Kerry's visit to the atom-bombed city, the first ever by U.S. Secretary of State, overshadowing the broader agenda. The meeting also includes top diplomats from nuclear-armed Britain and France, as well as Canada, Germany, Italy, host country Japan, and the European Union. It is part of the run-up to the G7's rotating annual summit, scheduled this year from May 26th to 27th in another part of Japan. The ministers were discussing issues including the Middle East, the refugee crisis, the conflict in Ukraine, and global terrorism. Japan also hopes to tackle North Korea's nuclear file and highlight rising territorial tensions in the South China Sea, where Beijing and some Southeast Asian nations have clashed. U.S. presidential candidate Ted Cruz tells Jewish Republicans that under his leadership, the U.S. will stand unapologetically with the nation of Israel as he addressed the Republican-Jewish coalition in Las Vegas. The senator from Texas was the only Republican presidential candidate to address the annual event and said he was the ideal candidate to defeat Democratic presidential rival Hillary Clinton. He also slammed his rival Donald Trump over his comments about remaining neutral in any peace negotiations between Israelis and Palestinians.
You know, 2 debates ago, Donald Trump rather famously explained that if he were president, he would be neutral between Israel and the Palestinians. Well, let me be clear to everyone here. As president, I will not be neutral. America will stand unapologetically with the nation of Israel. And if you can't tell the difference between our friends and our enemies, if you can't tell the difference between Israel and Islamic terrorists who want to kill us, that raises real questions about your fitness and judgment to be Commander-in-Chief. I have pledged on day 1 as President, I will begin the process of moving the American embassy in Israel to Jerusalem, the once and eternal capital of Israel. Hillary has said she would keep this Iranian nuclear deal in place. Listen, I agree with Prime Minister Netanyahu when he describes the Iranian nuclear deal, the threat of a nuclear Iran, as a, quote, existential threat to the state of Israel. And I would note, when the Prime Minister uses the word existential, he doesn't mean a Frenchman in a black beret chain-smoking. He means literally going to the very existence of Israel. It is the one threat on the face of the earth that has the potential to murder millions and millions of Jews in the flash of an eye. Those are the stakes, and if Donald is the nominee, it elects Hillary and it makes the threat of a nuclear Iran all the more likely.
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our top stories. Saudi Arabia's King Salman is greeted with deafening applause as he addresses the Egyptian parliament on the 4th day of the landmark visit. The calls of Prime Minister Tamam Salam for the cabinet session on Tuesday clear the air of doubts following the latest heated session over the state security file. And G7 foreign ministers begin 2 days of talks in Japan's city of Hiroshima. Those are your headlines for this Sunday, live from Future TV studios in Beirut. I'm Linit Tamim signing off.
بقول له يا سيد أنا رجعت على لبنان، أتمنى إنك ترجع كمان على لبنان.